I am Beth, the African Storyteller, Atiavila, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much for stopping by. Today I want to talk about the place of the African boy child. I get really annoyed when we are out on the social media streets. We are fighting for the girl child. We are talking about how, so and so got abused, and oh, this was so bad, and oh, we need to do this for these girls. And just somebody shows up and says, oh, what about the boy child? And every time we fight for the place of girls, there seems to be a notion that it takes away from the place of boys. And it is from that point that I thought, hey, how about we just start a new post, do a whole video, and address the concerns facing the African boy child. And by boy child, I mean from birth to any functional year. I'm not just referring to like the little boys, the voice of men, and the way they feel about the way the world is changing and all of that. And I also want to start by saying I am not an expert, but I'm an observer and I'm a consumer of life. And I pride myself in being able to be open-minded and objective about many things. And so I think, number one, just as an observer, and number two, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I'm a woman, so I am considered a consumer of men. Like, for the most part, women experience men. And so based off of my experience and the things that I see, what do I think we are missing, and what do I think we need to do differently or better to be able to empower the boy child, as well as we do the girl child. And on top of that, I think that as a sister to my brothers, as an aunt to my nephews, as a mother to my son, and as a wife to my husband, that I have some sort of experience and I do have some sort of right to speak on the matter. And I think of all those things, the one that really resonates deeply with me is that I am raising my son to be able to fit in the context of the world that we currently live in. And I think the best part to start is the traditional versus modern day conflict of what the place of a man is. I think there was a disservice from my generation because our parents raised us with the same expectations of their parents, our grandparents. And they, because women, we are meant to be married off. And so we are taught to be malleable, and we are taught to adjust to different situations. We are taught to be able to fit in different contexts and be functional. And we are also taught we are at a disadvantage. And this is not said directly, but mothers will pull their daughters to the side, and even fathers will pull their daughters to the side and say, hey, for you to survive in a man's world, or for you, in short, they're just saying you are prey in a really wild chase. And so I'm equipping you with the right attitude and the right skill set to survive. And because of that, I think women turned into the modern time a little more differently than men from my generation, because they still expected for the women to behave like their mothers. And women now are working. They are 8 to 5, 9 to 5 people. They're providing financially, but at the same time, they're still expected to nurture. They're still expected to take care of. These are the duties that they are trained for, as opposed to men. They were told they're the providers. And then now women can also do that. And so we need to redefine the way we view. And I really hope that men can be open-minded about this, because it is the only way we can progress as a people and the only way we can raise stronger men. And I think also that there is a certain notion that if you empower women, that you depower men. And I always say to the men in my life, the way you know where you are in position when it's hierarchy of the races. You know that there are white people, brown people, black people, and you know that when the field has never been even, and the way you feel about racial discrimination as a black man is the way I feel as a woman in the world, where I know socially I am very low on the order of on the order of things, in the hierarchy of social hierarchy of things. And so the same pain you feel when you think you're missing out on things because of your race and because of where you're from is the same way I feel when I'm missing out on things just because I am a woman. That is just the connection that I have to this, and the basis of raising men has to do with the intellectual, social, emotional, and adversity quotients. I think that we should pay a lot of attention to all the four components of intelligence, and I think that for the longest time, I always feel men are the dominant sex, and they have been in power for a really long time. And it's, I think, because of brute force. I can't think of any other reason other than brute force. That because men are bigger, men are stronger, they were able to fight, they were able, and back in the time when you had to hunt and gather and pull boulders and build houses with your bare hands, you had to be physically strong. And if you could do all of those things, you're king. And I think that that is the reason why men for the longest time ran things. But now, even when it comes to, like, you could cut a whole tree, you can build a whole house just by pressing a button. If you have money, you can make things work. Just a couple of phone calls, voila, you have a house. And even you think of all the manual work, you can hire people now. People are no longer going in the forest to hunt or gather. And so the way men were equipped and the power that they had is slowly being demystified. We should adapt. You can't fight it. You're going to lose. So with the boy child, we need to teach them it's good to be strong physically. I like for, my husband to be strong. I love that he is strong because it just, to me, gives me a certain sense of security and comfort. But we need to tell boys that it's okay to be big and strong, but you have to have you have to be intellectually capable. So go to school, work hard, do what you must, and build your thinking. And even if you're a blue collar worker, and even if you dropped out of primary school, you need to be able to read, you need to be able to write, you need to be able to learn how to critically think, to have independence in the way you perceive things. So I think that boys, we really need to keep on giving them that education. And this has never been a problem. Boys have gotten the best education since formal education was invented, and girls just got in the game recently. So I think that just making sure that they are intellectually, and I don't mean like be good at doing schoolwork, I mean be real critical thinkers, to be able to apply information and knowledge in a way that is useful and wholesome. But most importantly, we need to be helping our boys develop emotional intelligence. The emotional quotient is a very important part of the world that we live in. Being able to empathize with other people, being able to understand from a point of vulnerability. And I think that disconnect is the reason why a lot of relationships between men of our and former generations and women has been very tumultuous and very difficult, because communication, when women talk, they talk from a place of feeling, from a place of emotion, and they expect empathy and understanding. And men were told, if you cry, you're weak. If you show your emotions, you're weak. You are not a man. You emasculate yourself every time you show your emotion. And therefore, even when it comes to just, showing love and joy and pain and all those things, it becomes really difficult for men. And I think if we just empower our boys with the freedom to feel the full range of the human emotion and be comfortable with it, do what you must to be able to function fully. If you need to, empathize, if you need to lower yourself, your tone, lower your guard, be able to let people in, be able to protect yourself, be able to move like this emotionally, I think that we shouldn't deny our boys the chance to be emotionally, competent. And then there is the social intelligence. I think men do well generally with social intelligence because they navigate different social situations. But I think that we need to really press on how important it is now and not to dismiss parts of the society that are developing differently. Now we are looking at people identifying as neutral. Now we are looking at people wanting for you to be sensitive about this and be sensitive about that. And I think part of that social intelligence and being able to navigate the social space in a way that is acceptable, there's nothing macho about it. I find it very interesting when men have arguments or discussions that are anti-gay. Men think that if you support gay people are going to mistake you for being gay, or it makes you weaker. And I'm like, no, it actually shows your social intelligence, that you're able to understand different facets and different, parts of society are going to operate on rules that you may not necessarily ascribe to, and it's fine as long as it's not infringing on your freedom. So I think we need to just let our boys be able to go through that. And finally, there's adversity quotient, which is the intelligence that enables you to be able to survive hard times. When you go through something traumatic or sad, heartbreaking, how do you manage it? And do you come from it a better, healthy version of you, or do you get stuck in it and just kind of move on with all of this burden and pain? I think that part of the reason women live longer is because of that. They have a very good adversity intelligence, a very good development of adversity intelligence. And I think that the world, oh man, it's falling apart. There is so much. And for a Black man and for our boys, being able to navigate the world as it is with all the racism and all the isms that are fighting, they need to be able to develop an ability to handle adversity and be able to not only survive it, but conquer it. And so I think that thing of developing emotional quotient and knowing it's okay to cry, and it's okay to be calm, and it's okay to read the social cues of situations and navigate accordingly is not only going to make sure our boys stay alive, but is also going to provide them with the right tools to be healthy inside and not feel the burden of the world weighing them down and not having anything they can do because we did not give them the tools to navigate that. Girls, we have those tools. We've been given those tools. That is the one thing that I know women really have an upper hand on, that we go through pain, we go through shit, and we always come out popping, smelling like roses. Because we have really good adversity intelligence. And I think that this is the thing that we really need to equip the boys with. Boys need to finally learn how to work hard and to do a lot of self-work. I think that working hard is such a beautiful attribute. Anything you can do. I know some people say don't work hard, work smart. But even working smart is working hard, because you have to think. That is work. I know it looks like, oh, the person's just sitting over there on their computer, but they're really working. It's not physically taxing, but it's intellectual, it is mentally taxing. And so I think just teaching our boys that grit and that push and the best things in life come when you work hard, and having the discipline and the persistence to push and go and fall and get up and go again. And there's such a lazy attitude generally with the kids coming up. And I think that technology has made it so that they think that working hard is for losers, and they just want the easy way out of things, and they want instant gratification. I think that we should particularly teach our boys how to work hard, but more importantly, to do a lot of self-work. I see women have their little circles, to machama, little gatherings, meeting. And even when I go to the river And I see the women doing laundry and laughing and, you know, taking a little bath in the river, whatever that is, that they came to do, even just basking on a rock nearby. They're constantly self-working. You know, women are not ashamed to say what they did wrong, and other girls will chip in and be like, oh, girl, you really shouldn't have. And listening to each other's stories and making notes and finding new ways, you know, night classes, doing their masters during holidays, taking an extra, you know, financial class here, having to do that. And all of these things really empower women in a way that I wish to see men do. Men don't do a lot of self work, they have a lot of toxic lessons taught to them, and they don't really make much of an effort to unlearn that. Even when they realize it's a bad thing, it takes a lot of work to unlearn shit. Like, we know that. Men would rather not. They'd rather just drink beer and forget for now. And then when they remember again, they drink more beer. And then when they remember that, they distract themselves with, you know, the next shiny toy. And then with the next, you know, pretty woman. And then with the next, I think it is harmful. And I think that we should encourage for the boys to do a lot of self-work. Self-improvement is essential in an ever-changing world. If you're complacent and you just sit and rest easy, the world is changing so fast. And if you're not able to keep with it, you're not going to be able to survive. We want our boys to be the fittest. I also want to say, just as a parting shot, that we should allow for boys to do other things. Not all of them are going to be engineers and pilots and and doctors and lawyers. It's okay to be a mechanic. It's okay to be a farmer. It's okay to be a hairdresser or a barber. You work hard. You have, you know, your educational certification, and then you go on and do the thing that brings you joy. If you want to take a dance class, don't be afraid of, you know, tapping into your hobbies, and don't be afraid of doing things that people think are feminine. There's nothing wrong with tapping into your feminine side. Like, there's nothing wrong with the women tapping into their masculine side. So I would say that be wary of picking impressing on your boys that they have to do certain things to be masculine. You're masculine because you are. You just are. What you wear, how you talk, what you do for a living does not define your masculinity. And I think we really need to impress upon the boys that you can be a man, a very man, and still enjoy things that are a little feminine, and pick careers that are not the norm, and still be able to provide for the people that you need to provide for, and to have the security that you need for yourself. And having that, all of these things is going to build a really healthy ego, a really confident man. And when the boys are winning, the girls are winning, because then we know our girls are marrying into a really good crop of boys, and a really good selection of well-balanced, developed boys. So I hope that this is helpful, just to know that in March, when we spoke about women empowerment, because it's Women's History Month, that we did remember, because when they're good men, women are happy. Thank you for watching. You can leave a question, comment. You can add to this with a ton of other things that you think we can do for a boy child, our African boy child. And click on the notification bell, like, and subscribe. Subscribe, yes, subscribe. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you on my next video. Bye.